What's up and good morning to you RPG fans. So I got this kind of breaking news thing from Kyle, so hat tip to the Viking Hat GM here. He is of course my co-host and we really appreciate getting this link from him today. And guys, the news has broken beyond the walls of our hobby, even beyond geekdom in general. So let's take a look at this. This is actually in The Guardian, a paper of note. I mean, we can set aside any opinions on politics, but yeah, this blew up to the point that The Guardian has gotten their hands on it. So let's take a look at that article real quick, and I'll have some thoughts after we kind of go over this. So let's open that up there. And the article is titled, "People Are Leaving the Game. Dungeons & Dragons Fans Revolt Against New Restrictions." Wizards of the Coast, which owns the game, is preparing to change long-standing licensing rules. So they've gotten a hold of it, folks. It's gone mainstream. This is not what Wizards of the Coast wanted, I am sure, when they wanted broad mainstream influence for D&D, right? And you gotta love that picture there too, that image, a classic D&D rule book, not a 4th edition book, not a 5th edition book, not a 3E book, but a classic D&D rule book. And it says, a D&D game pack in 1983. And that's an Alame photo. They grabbed a stock photo. We get it. But here we go. Let's dive into the article. It's been a tough week for Dungeons & Dragons fans. The reins were pulled in on users who come up with their own storylines and new characters, creating legions of imaginary worlds that spin off of the original fantasy role-playing game. They have also been able to make and sell products required to play or based on the game under an open game license (OGL) agreement. But as Gizmodo first reported, a leaked new document drafted by Wizards of the Coast, WotC, the Hasbro subsidiary that owns D&D, threatens to tighten the OGL that has been in place since the early 2000s. It would grant WotC the ability to make money off these products without paying the person who made it. And companies that make over $750,000 will have to start paying Hasbro a 25% cut of their earnings. Let's see here. I almost cried about it 2 nights ago, said Baron DeRopp, who is 36 and lives in Tennessee. He's been playing D&D since he was 9 years old, learning the ins and outs from older relatives who shared plans called adventures, which map out a general storyline for the game. While some adventures are written by D&D itself, I think they mean it's written by Wizards of the Coast themselves, many others are written by individual dungeon masters. Under the proposed license, these plans could soon be owned by Hasbro. I think that's a bit of an oversimplification, but I get the spirit of what they're saying, and I'm sure you do too. It honestly feels like your grandfather paid for your college education, and now that you're 40 years old and have a stable career, he says you owe him 25% of all the money you've been making, he said. Now, I would say it's more like a crooked uncle, but, you know, I'm splitting hairs. DeRopp moonlights as a dungeon master, the person responsible for guiding a group of players through an adventure and describing various elements and encounters in that imaginary world, at corporate team building events, and runs a local high school's club. The one word that sums up his feelings now is betrayal. Many people are simply leaving the game altogether, said William Earl, a 28-year-old YouTuber whose videos largely focus on D&D culture. He said he has canceled his subscription to D&D Beyond, good on you, Hasbro's digital game companion, and would never buy another WotC product. You see what you're doing, Wizards? More than 66,000 fans. More than 66,000 fans signed an open letter to Hasbro, D&D Beyond, and WotC expressing disgust at the proposed changes. They view the changes as nothing but a money rush and an attempt to squash small-time creators who do not pose a serious threat to Hasbro. The company did not respond to a request for comment. Hey, Guardian, the company hasn't responded to anything. It's not just you guys. It's not just the press. It's everybody. Fans say the cottage industry that they've been able to build is what has allowed D&D to thrive over the years, and thrive it has. There are more than 13 million active players worldwide, and the game's popularity exploded at the height of the pandemic. Groups got together remotely, taking on identities like elves and witches to combat lockdown-induced loneliness. Many did so using software that allowed fans to play remotely and was made by creators under the original OGL. And I can attest, I know several people who have developed stuff for virtual tabletops. That is very true. Players can go back through the history of D&D in guidebooks and online forums to find adventures that were written 30, 40, or 50 years ago. Then they can replicate those events at their own table. I want games to live forever so that my grandkids can use these plays too, DeRop said. He worries that a centralized ownership of adventures by Hasbro would put a chokehold on the community's creativity. Jay Cushing, a dungeon master based in New York who has played D&D for over a decade, believes that D&D's community of nerds will find inventive ways to get past any proposed licensing. They already have. Sites like the now-defunct Trove allowed users to download PDFs of old adventures for free without compensating creators. We are people who are not always using the correct avenues of content sharing, so nothing is going to stop people from making their own content, Cushing said. While fans were still digesting Hasbro's content restrictions, they were hit with news that D&D is headed into the mainstream. Now, I think that's a gross simplification. D&D has been in the mainstream since, I would say, well, it's always been on the edges of mainstream culture, you know, with the Satanic Panic. You had crap like Mazes and Monsters, but then you also had things like Stranger Things, you know, mentions on That 70s Show, on Community, Freaks and Geeks, the Goldbergs. It's always been on the edges of the mainstream, but it's been slowly working in well before WotC and Paramount announced this movie. And a Chris Pine film set in the universe is coming later this year. But with an impending boycott and chaos among creators, will anyone watch? Well, I've got some news for you. The buzz is that movie is a stinker. And folks, they moved it to March. And I think that is part of why Wizards of the Coast is scrambling to try and create a new, restrictive, more money-grabbing OGL. Because that movie is not going to launch an MCU-like film revolution as WotC was hoping it would. They know that. That's why they moved it from November to March. The movie is going to tank, folks. Let's be 100% honest. That's what's coming. Wizards knows it. And they have got to pay the fiddler. They have got to pay Papa Hasbro. Okay? And because of that, they have got to pump those profits up. They have got to get those profits up. And how do you do that? You grab onto as much money as possible. Because, folks, honor amongst thieves ain't going to get it. All right? They've seen. They know. Paramount knows. That's why they stuck it in March. But let's go on. Earl, the YouTuber, says it's impossible to capture the spirit of D&D in a major TV series. D&D is a collaborative, interactive storytelling experience, he said. The appeal is that you engage with the narrative and share that experience with others. Pizza, potato chips, Diet Coke, and laughter, that's as much a part of the D&D experience as dragons, dwarves, and demons. And that goes back to what my co-host had said. It is snacks. It's people, snacks, setting, and system. The rule stuff comes dead last, folks. Dungeon masters who spoke to The Guardian said they would probably give the adaptations a shot. I'm not one of those in either case. I didn't speak to The Guardian, and I'm not going to give it a shot. But in their eyes, even the most realistic CGI or special effects cannot compare to the magic that happens when friends gather around a table and improvise. Theater of the mind is really where this game thrives, Cushing said. When my players and I reminisce about something that happened in the game, we all see it differently in our minds. That multifaceted nature is really what makes D&D glow. Your wildest imaginings can be turned into media, but you watch it and see that your imagination was better the whole time. It's like Gary said. He once spoke to a young man and asked him if he preferred science fiction TV shows and movies, and he said, no, I like radio plays because the pictures are so much better. For DeRop, D&D media shouldn't take itself too seriously or follow the tone of a moody Marvel-esque blockbuster. People want to kick in the door, slay some goblins, steal some treasure, he said. Slapstick, campy humor caters to that idea best. And I think really the people that The Guardian interviewed have got it. They've definitely got it. I mean, but the important thing is not that they agree with what we're saying. The important thing is that this is now on the mainstream. Okay, Wizards of the Coast has been put on notice. Yesterday afternoon, they were supposed to have a big town hall through D&D Beyond on Twitch at 3 p.m. That got canceled and then moved to 5 p.m. and then it got canceled entirely. And the only thing on their Twitch schedule coming up is a regular weekly stream coming on the 17th. Folks, we are hounding them. We are harrying them. We have them cornered. Keep unsubscribing from D&D Beyond. Keep voting with your wallet and keep the pressure on these guys, okay? Yes, we've got things like different gaming license coming from Paizo, coming from Troll Lord Games, coming from Kobold Press, and lots of other small companies are offering better deals, but we've got to keep the pressure on Wizards. Bring them to heel. Make them understand that what they're doing is fundamentally wrong, and don't let them get away with stealing the content of thousands of creators who have already entered things under the OGL. I will have more news and information as it breaks, as it comes to me. Again, big thanks to Kyle Schuant, the Viking Hat GM right here on the channel, who sent me this link in the wee hours of the morning. I didn't get it until I got home just a little bit ago, hence the short video. So you guys have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll see you, if nothing else, tonight for a live stream of First Edition Gamma World. Peace. Be good to each other and stay positive.